There it is.
Think that'll do it.
That'll do it. Welcome to Pod Heaven, everyone. We got Austin on the sound effects. We got me on the couch. And the moment you've all been waiting for. Eric's beautiful face. Whoa.
Yikes.
He's actually in the picture this time.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to sit out here for some reason.
Yeah.
So
he's
here I am.
Me. So, welcome, Eric.
Hi.
For the first time ever.
I mean, we only live together, but yeah. Hi, Devin.
Hey, my name's Devin.
Nice to meet you. Oh, crap. I think I got COVID.
Oh,
Don't shake hands.
We all got COVID. Sorry.
It's just
Gotta do this thing.
Yeah. There we go.
You know, they might be mad at us for COVID purposes, but
that's why we're next to each other in the car. We live together, so really,
I really got nothing to say. They live together, and I'm over here.
Yeah, that's
They're
why
6 feet.
He's quarantined. There's a invisible barrier here that kills all bacteria that is
dude.
expelled from the nose.
Bacteria killed.
Yep.
Yes. So, well, welcome, Eric.
We have our first guest on the show. This is a very special moment. Eric,
Monumental.
thank you for joining us.
Hey, no problem.
Putting up with all of our crap every week
Every weekend.
and carrying a table that Austin was supposed to bring and forgot from Home Depot to the car.
Little details.
And Devin, thank you for providing the funds
Yes.
for a table.
The show must go on.
If you'd like to leave us a donation, fuck off.
Yeah, we don't have
a
nothing.
patron set up yet, so
Cash App,
Venmo.
OnlyFans.
We should be on OnlyFans.
Yeah, we're gonna put out a calendar.
Yes, I think so many people would buy that calendar.
Yeah. Chances are I'm gonna have to take all the pictures. So
Yeah, he's the sexiest out of all of us. So.
yeah, and
With that beard, dude?
no, I'm behind the camera.
Oh,
That's
I see
I'm
what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're not in front.
I know,
So
dude.
who's going to be the models?
With a shirt like that, man, and a beard like those braids, dude, that is out of control, man.
Yeah.
I
wish I could braid my beard.
like that.
I'll probably never be able to do that.
Yeah, you just gotta let it go, let it grow,
No.
take care of it.
How long did it take you?
Oh, geez, I lost track somewhere in the 1.5 year range. And I think the chin is somewhere in like the 3-year range or something like that.
3 years.
And the outsides have been catching up. So I got this weird little like chop thing going, but
Nice.
Yeah.
So if I were to grow a beard as magnificent as that, what would I do?
you would take oil and probably balm at the same time. Use that at least once a day.
Okay.
Don't be too aggressive with it.
Gotcha.
Wash it once a week.
I love how he looked at you when he said that.
Yeah.
He's like, don't be too aggressive with
Don't
it.
be too aggressive with
Devin.
it.
Rip your hair out. Yeah, because that helps. Wash it once a week. If you like get sweaty or you like get oily or something, you can condition it like basically daily. That keeps it
Can I just
softer.
regular shampoo?
Don't.
Okay. There you go.
Your face, oddly enough, is more sensitive than your scalp. So shampoo is designed to like rip all this crap out of your scalp that's kind of deep in there, and that'll be way too aggressive on your face, and then your hair will just start falling out.
Yeah.
So
Because I thought you were supposed to wash your hair every day for a long time.
Mm-mm.
And then
That was another thing I found out when I started doing all this stuff. They're actually like, yeah, your hair probably treat it similarly to your beard. And I was like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense.
is that why I'm balding?
Just all the shampoo that you've been using?
I bet that's it, dude.
That doesn't help. Usually you know you're using too much shampoo is if you forget to shower one day or forget to shampoo one day, and it's just like the oiliest, greasiest mess that you just don't want to go anywhere near, and you feel just gross.
Yeah.
It's because your head is just desperately trying to put oil on that stuff, and you keep peeling it off.
Yeah.
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 That's where that comes from. Even my sister has been like, yeah, if I just don't shower one day, I can't stand it. It's so oily. It's like, yeah, I used to do that. And then I just started shampooing once a week, and now it's
once a week.
Sister?
My sister.
Oh.
Everybody's head works like that.
Well, I mean, usually girls are really in tune, or women are really in tune with like that whole beauty thing. And I feel like that was the first time I ever heard about this idea of not washing your hair every single day was from a girl.
Well, my sister has a pixie cut, so that might have something to do with it, that she takes care of it a little bit differently as a result.
Yeah.
That's the first place I heard it too.
Yeah.
It's from my first girlfriend.
Yep. But
I didn't believe her.
Why are you not washing your hair?
I just thought it was because they had so much more hair and it took forever. And that's why they didn't do it.
Well, yes and no, but
yeah, it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, to take care of long hair like that, as I'm starting to learn, growing it back out again, at least part of it.
Right.
Yeah, it's you kind of want to start obsessing over it if you want to get past a certain length, and then of course, the thing that starts sucking about having long hair is that you see all the sheddings.
Yeah,
and your bathroom is just.
I don't know how this happened, but yesterday, I went in the bathroom. And I caught it, like I was walking past the mirror and I caught like a big old hair hanging in my beard. I was like,
a big old
what
hair.
the heck? And I pulled it out and it's like Eric's size. I'm like, how does Eric's hair get? Yeah, how does Eric's hair get in my beard?
You remember that one episode where I pulled a hair out of your forehead? There was a hair.
I don't think I was there for that.
You said that exactly the same way. You're like, I think it was a big old hair.
It's a big old hair.
Big old gnarly hair.
Just plucked it out, man. Yeah.
I don't have a bing sound.
Oh.
But I guess I do now.
Yeah. Get the drops.
I'll have to cut that one out.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So
we used to be in a band.
Yes, we did.
Once upon a time.
We've talked a little bit about that in the podcast before.
He's why we were good.
And Eric's the only reason that we were any good. And I think a big part of the reason that we stood out at like the Hawthorne Theater and stuff, like it was kind of interesting to watch the looks on people's faces when they heard our shit, because it was just seemed like you go to the Hawthorne Theater and you see all the bands that are coming up there and like they're all kind of sound the same. It's like either just like loud punk rock or just like lots of screaming and like
shouting. I mean, screaming is a stretch. It's
it was
shouting.
Yeah.
You know, and they're all hyped up and playing at like 200,000 beats per minute.
Just blast beat every chance they get.
Yeah. But we kind of, I think, we stood out because, like our song Jettison, especially, it's like a progressive metal song pretty much. Mm-hmm. And we were a rock band, or like that's what everybody called us. But when we were in band practice, we would come up with shit. And me and Devin and Michael would usually be pretty happy with the way it was moving, because we were just happy to be playing in a rock group and like playing music that sounded like all the bands that we listened to. But you always thought forward, and you were like, no, we gotta stand out somehow. We gotta make this different from because I like all these artists that come to the studio today are like cookie cutter. Like it's not hard it is kind of hard, but it's pretty hard, but it's not super hard today with the tools that we have available to like create kind of a funnel of production to where like, every artist kind of sounds the same. So it's easy to come up with a few
how-to
templates.
sheet on how to make a song.
Pretty much,
a tutorial, so to speak. And I mean, that's great when you're like working on stuff, and there's a certain point where that's like you gotta, when you're working, especially because you know this because you're actually in it professionally now. Is that you got to have a workflow. You got to get stuff out at a certain rate. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get to everything else, or you're going to start losing artists, and they're not, you're not going to have room for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, on a creative side, that's a really bad place to let yourself settle into. Yeah. Especially if you're like a songwriter or something like that.
Definitely.
So, because it's like it only lasts so long before it's just kind of like, okay.
Yeah. I think it's really important to maintain kind of like a mindset where you're considering all the options when you're creating music. Yeah. And I think you brought that to the band because you came from a background of playing in music, and you were actually in a couple different bands when Silver Remains was playing, and you'd open up for our band with the
I played in all 3 bands at one of the shows. I remember.
One of the shows, Eric was in all of them.
Yeah, I had
That is cool,
up as a
man.
wizard hobo, and then I was like in another band, and then I had to come on with Silver Remains. It was weird. And I was like, yeah, so I'm not the same guy.
I just look like him. He's my evil twin.
Something like that.
Yeah.
No,
that was cool.
Silver. So when we started, you were really young. So when I was at Silver was actually
13.
kind of the first. Yeah. I think, the first like incantation before it was like officially Silver Remains. I think you were like 11, 12 or something like that.
Damn.
Like it was still, we were like, wow, Austin's like way too, we were kind of like bringing it up, but it's like, man, he's like super young right now.
Dude, I don't even like hardly remember that. I just remember playing at bars when I was 13.
Yeah.
So I tell people I was 13.
Because I remember, I think Michael brought it up because you just like, I think you started like hearing us play, and then you were like, oh, like, yeah, I'm going to play stuff like that. It's so cool and everything. And it's like the whole Big Brother looking up thing. And I mean, we were all super young at that point, but we were already at the point where we were kind of like, you know how 3 years is like a freaking millennia when you're 14.
Yeah.
So we were like, man, Austin's not ready for this stuff right now.
No, dude. And I totally wasn't like, I don't know. I guess I was ready to do that, but I definitely wasn't ready to do what I'm doing now at that age.
Yeah. Eventually we were hearing you play. Yeah. And eventually it got to the point where we're just like, okay, I think it's been long enough. Austin should probably get in here because we could use some more guitar.
Yeah, we're like, we need a lead guitarist. We're just like, who could it be? And then in the other room, Austin's just sitting there shredding, and we're like, and then in my brain, I'm like, no, there's no way that I don't want my little brother in the because I'm still like, I don't know.
You're already in there with your twin brother.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
it's kind of his idea.
Yeah, Michael was a little bit, I think, a little more forward thinking than that. I was just like,
that was the whole reason he learned bass.
Yeah,
we were screwing around.
We were playing Iron Man.
Like I literally like knew like this much guitar, and he knew like approximately that much drumming. Yeah. Right. And so we were just like, let's try to play together. Yeah. And we were so bad, but like Michael thought it was so cool, and he's like, dude, I'm gonna learn bass. We're gonna do this thing.
He comes running downstairs. Yeah. I'm gonna learn bass because all he could play at that point was piano.
That's right.
So yeah, we played Iron Man. And
damn, I wish we could have had him on today.
We'll get the full band on
someday.
Yeah, we'll have to. We don't have room. We don't have enough rooms. My inputs.
Well, we kind of do, but we kind of don't. So
there it is.
Make it work.
Yeah, yeah. But that was great. So that's kind of when that whole thing started. And
so Eric was kind of a little more forward thinking, I think, for him having a background in the art school, right? Because you went to art school when you were younger. So what was that like? What did you get? Because you played saxophone.
Yeah, too, I ended up learning saxophone a little bit later on. Okay. Partially because I remembered my dad played it back when he was in high school and he met my mom and all that. But it was actually kind of the other way around. I was attending art school, elective school. So there's like videography and stuff like that, photography, visual arts, obviously, literary, music, dance, theater. Those are the big ones. And so all the kids we had our categories that we always tried to kind of fit into. And I was kind of like, oh, sweet. I get to work with computers and stuff in moving image arts for videography. Found out I'm not that into like movies and sitting down and like analyzing that kind of thing.
Is that what the school was all about?
You had to, it wasn't so much just creating it, but it was also appreciating art. It was a big thing that you kind of learned about. And so as a result, I've kind of gained a perspective when I see a lot of different stuff there's a lot more intention. Yeah. Even when there's some bizarre music I listen to and Devin's just like, this just sounds like the furthest thing from a good song possible. And I'm listening to it and I'm like, there's a lot of like real specific and real intentional stuff. And I kind of dig it.
Yeah.
But there's that. But
he's just... My palate's not as refined as yours, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I think some stuff just doesn't resonate with some people.
Yeah. And I can feel that too. Yeah. Definitely. But I gained a more of an analytical perspective eventually.
Yeah.
But starting the band actually happened before I really started getting into the music side of things in school, oddly enough. That's
a good example of that.
Yeah.
I was playing Many Men by 50 Cent earlier.
Yeah.
Which is like total gangster rap song. And that's so cool to me because like 50 Cent is a real ass gangster, and he's telling these stories. These old songs from 50 Cent are like his stories from like probably lyrics he was writing while he was fucking slinging dope and shit. Like, like that's really cool to listen to for me. But you know, for you guys are just kind of like, all right, you know, it's just kind of loud.
It's loud.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's the whole poetry in motion thing. I can understand why people enjoy gangster rap and different types of rap. I mean, I've listened to a little bit of Oliver Tree lately, which is not like the I'm trying to impress you type of stuff. Yeah. And it's not gangster necessarily, but it's a different perspective, and I can appreciate what he's done. Yeah. With within that, he's kind of got a unique approach to it. He's very much in the melancholy of the millennial generation. So
I think I've just done too many drugs, and I think I just, you know, just have such an open mind now.
Yeah.
I just love all types of music. Yeah. But so then we did the whole band thing, and you switched to mechanics for music. You started working on cars instead.
Outside of, after high school, we gave the band some more time. My parents were like, we'll let you, stay here and everything because you seem pretty serious about this, but, we can't let you do it forever. So it's like, okay, well, that's fair. We'll give it a shot, see what happens. And we all know how that story ended up. Just not reliable people.
Couldn't keep a singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just
couldn't keep a lead singer.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kept bailing. We got tired of looking. So let's go make some money.
Yeah. During that, I did end up getting, we'll say, an apprenticeship to work with a guy to start learning how to work on cars, which as I kind of found out very much works with my brain. So it was just first day, it was just like, oh yeah, okay. That's why you have a head gasket there. This is how a car works. This is how big the pistons are type of thing. And it just clicked immediately.
I can so relate to that. Jumping into the studio the first day with Dave. Cause after a while, I was kind of stuck in rock and roll. With Silver Remains and stuff, and I was really just listening to a lot of rock, writing a lot of rock music. But then I started listening to some other shit, and I think I got out of that by just by doing music production, because you kind of have to have that all-encompassing mindset when you're thinking about that stuff, because music production software isn't built for rock and roll. It's not built for pop. It's not built for EDM. It's built for music.
Yeah.
And so you have to figure out how to fit what you're doing in that box, or find the box to fit it in,
Yeah.
In all those, in all those plugins and stuff. But, that just that stuff came to me really naturally. And granted, I had been doing music production at home, making beats and stuff for 5 years before that. And I was in the band, and when I was in the band and I saw how you were thinking when we were writing songs, I was like, okay, I'm going to need to learn music theory at some point.
Yeah, that was a very much a big sticking point when I was in recording arts at school.
Yeah. Cause that's kind of how the software, works, is it's based off of theory, because theory is such a, is the only common theme between all music, I think.
Yeah, and I remember in my senior project, I ended up doing this big old study on how music became to be with the brain nowadays, and a lot of it's just based on familiarity.
Yeah.
So if there's a song or a genre, especially, you can see this with metalheads or people that really don't like country or really don't like rap type of thing.
Yeah.
Then the more you kind of hear the same thing, the more you're kind of satisfied by it in a certain sense, even if you don't think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Because metal's kind of, a lot of it, nu metal did this a ton, but it kind of starts to blend together a lot. A lot of the modern pop stuff, a lot of the modern whatever's popular in each genre, kind of sort of copies itself. I mean, you can see this happen in the country where it's starting to imitate the West Coast style of pop music, even though most of it's based in Tennessee.
Right.
But
Okay.
That's kind of where music theory kind of had to be, I guess, institutionalized. I'm trying to find a good word for that. Like you basically put it in a textbook. You make it a science as opposed to an art.
Yeah.
And you actually have an explanation of what's going on. And so therefore that's your rules.
Yeah.
You've got 12 notes, you've got so many octaves within the human hearing range, and you've got rhythm, you've got meter. Everyone knows what meter is. At 4/4, that's 4/4 is just super common. Like 99.9% of songs, everybody knows how to count to 4/4.
Yeah.
And what you do within that, you can do a lot. You'll eventually run out, but it's going to sound really similar.
That's right.
And like I remember I learned how to play drums on Rock Band and eventually got to play on Devin's kit a couple times, and it's so much of it's like the same thing in typical rock and roll and pop stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's true, man. And I think, you know, when I jumped into the studio, I realized that the process doesn't exactly go how I thought it would. You know, I knew how to play guitar, and when we get a band together, you do this, and you do this, and we all kind of know what section of the music that we handle. But in the studio, in the industry, it's usually, here's a beat, you know, here's a singer, here's a drummer, let's put them on this track together, you know, and there's a lot of production that goes into the project to enrich it like digitally. You know what I mean? But I kind of forgot where I was going with that.
No, I mean, like, you got to be able to, in order to be in the studio chair, in the studio producer chair, you got to be able to know all the different, vocals. You need to know, because like for me as a drummer, it is really hard for me to kind of portray my thoughts in my brain. Like I hear a melody line, or I hear, I don't know, maybe a riff.
That's where I was getting.
For me to actually like tell you, hey, this is what I want you to do. Try this.
Right.
I have to go look through my library of music and find something and go, that right there. Yeah. You know,
do
and
something
even
like
then,
that.
It's not even that. Now I have to be, so just being able to, it's just like speaking multiple languages of,
music theory is the language that communicates.
Right.
And, so I get in the studio and I'm like, okay, so now I have, instead of having a band with, parts, with their parts memorized, I have to figure out how to communicate this idea to them. And I'm like, and I have to tell them how to play the song.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how do I do that? And I'm like, oh yeah, there's a language that speaks that. It's a universal language because it's understood mathematically,
intervals and all that.
Yeah. So thanks for completing that thought for me.
Yeah. That's part of it, just like as a personal trainer, the best, you need to know how to explain things. You need to be able to take what's inside your head and communicate it to your client. You have to be able to do that. And that's what makes a good trainer. That's what makes a good, producer. That's what is being able to take what's inside your head and accurately educate and portray this to the other person.
Yeah.
And it's pretty big.
That reminds me of being in dance, because that was a lot of the same type of thing, especially with choreography. It was just physical movement. And you felt like, especially when we were doing, like, we always did like warm-up sections, and whenever you're doing something, you feel like, oh man, I'm way bent over. But it's like, no, you need to be at 90 degrees. And so they'd actually, if you didn't get it right away, they'd kind of gently nudge you down if you're flexible enough and be like, this is where you're going to be. And then you're like, oh, I'm way further away than I thought.
Yeah.
And then you kind of sort of have to memorize that feeling. This is what 90 degrees bent over feels like, or like my arm literally straight up in the air, as opposed to like, oh, hey, my arm's straight up in the air.
Yeah.
No, it's straight up in the air type of thing.
That's funny that you say that, because before I go into this, he was in dance for a little bit. Did how many years of dance?
Like two effectively.
Yeah.
I think.
Because, Eric's really, it just kind of goes with the flow, and it's the word, the fancy scientific word for that is proprioception. Just knowing where your body is in space. Because there's so many times where I'm like, okay, I want you to take your leg and widen your stance out. So they'll widen their stance out. All right, now point your toes forward. They'll move their toes forward,
but they won't be straight.
They won't be straight. And I'm like, no, point them forward. And they'll actually look down and go, dang, I thought for sure that my feet were pointed straight forward.
Wow.
But, and just, yeah. So
I think I either have horrible proprioception or I'm just really fucking tall.
Or one leads to the other, type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, you have it better than most because
it doesn't really have to do with like where my arms are, like what straight up is or anything, but like when I'm moving around, like I feel like I'm just like, I can fit through this doorway. Yeah. Oh, I'm way closer to that fucking
boom,
that judgment that you have to learn.
Yeah, that's funny.
I don't know. I think part of it's just because I just don't fucking pay attention. But I'm just trying to do things fast. Whenever I'm at the grocery store, I'm just like, this should not have to take long. Let's get this done.
It's like, where is the mayo?
Yeah.
I should know this. Why isn't this Winco like all the other ones?
This one's backwards. Yeah, that's our local one. It's literally backwards.
Yeah, dude. But you did dance for a little bit, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
Cute.
Well, at first it was kind of filling in a requirement at the art school. You kind of, if you're doing, so one thing I should mention real quick, this elective school was, you did 7 years at it. People like to call it Hogwarts because there's a whole bunch of fairly nerdy people there.
Yeah.
But you start in middle school and go
only
through high
art
school.
students would come up with that.
Exactly. So
every kid there has read those books.
Yeah, pretty much. It was basically a requirement. But I mean, you could do.
In the social circle.
Yeah, right.
You could just do middle school, but the point was that I did the 7 years.
Yeah.
So when you do the 7 years, they want you, part of their kind of own requirements curricularly, something like that.
Nice.
Words, yes. Perfect.
Is that you do a certain amount of classes in at least one of the 6 different art disciplines. So dance, theater, music, visual art, moving image art, and literary art.
Okay.
And so that's the 6 tiles. That's actually the logo.
Nice.
And so as a result, there's also no sports at the school. All the extra money that they get because it's an elective school, instead of like funding a football team and a basketball team and having something like that, they actually fund like shows and whatnot. That would be, some of them are huge in some cases. Like they did Sound of Music, and literally like most of the auditorium was empty because so many students were involved with it when we were viewing it. So it was like it was like a third of the students that were normally in the theater were actually like on stage, behind stage, up in the booth, handling stuff backstage, because it was just that big of a deal. And then of course they actually sell tickets and all that stuff. But
so then how do you have time to learn math and science?
That's just part of the normal school day, and then you do all the extra stuff after school. So
that's right.
That sounds like you were working as hard as I am now.
If you go by raw hours, you're doing 12-hour days at the school during a show.
I remember trying to hang out with you in high school, and I couldn't because you're always busy.
I wasn't nearly as dedicated as some of the people there.
Right.
Some of the actors actually have to start on the show way earlier than anyone. I did like tech and backstage work. Like I ran sound.
Yeah.
I did a couple of shows, but the actors would actually start like months in advance, just start rehearsing the shit out of it, working with each other, getting comfortable with each other, getting into their characters essentially before. And the soonest we would start is that we'd start like building the set and whatnot and shop after school. And then we'd actually build it on the stage, wherever that was, either up in, we had like a black box, and then we actually have the actual Royal Durst Theater.
Right.
A little more typical of what you'd expect. And then put the stage together there, and then you'd start having tech rehearsals, and then you'd actually do dress, and then you'd do the show for like 2 weeks, and then you have to tear everything down, and then there's a cast party, and then on to the next one.
That's pretty cool.
That sounds way more fun than what I was doing in high school.
Seriously, like just being homeschooled, I was like, get me out of here. I'm so done with this. I want to hang out with my friends. I'm bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to why on earth I was doing dance.
Yes, there you go.
Sure.
Bringing it back.
Yeah. So I was going through, like, in middle school, I kind of had the plan that I would get through all the stuff that I wasn't planning on doing, like, seriously right out of the gate. That was pretty much the smart thing to do. Because then after you got they have what they call explore classes. So it's like they're literally there just so you can just meet the minimum requirement for the school's curriculum before you actually start dedicating your time to one or two of the selected disciplines. And so yeah. So they didn't have physical education in high school. So a way to fulfill that, so you could actually do, I think there's like a state requirement or something,
right?
Was to take dance, physical movement and all that. And you're kind of working out every day or every time you had dance class. So they counted it. And so that's typically you'd wait till high school to start taking dance as a result if you're doing it that way. So that's what I did. Freshman year, I got into Dance Explore. It's like the only dance class that has more than 3 guys in it because we're all there for the same reason, or just getting it out of the way.
Gotta graduate.
And then I kind of found I had a little bit of an affinity for that. What was that word again?
The proprioception?
Proprioception.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't heard it before today.
So you're like, oh, I'm actually pretty good.
Proprioception.
Yeah, he's good.
So I was picking up on it, and I kind of started sticking out a little bit. And so the next year, at the same time, I had started recording arts, as they call it, which is kind of a subset of music and what allowed me to kind of learn about all the technical stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd started doing that because of Silver Remains.
Yeah.
But
I think I remember at one point you were saying Silver Remains wasn't really the type of music you wanted to be playing, and you'd rather be doing the stuff that you were doing with Electric Company or whatever.
Electric Carnival.
Electric
That's what
Carnival.
it was.
Electric Company.
Electric Company.
Yeah.
That's a Disney show.
So I'm trying to remember when I said that, because I don't specifically remember saying that. I remember I told Electric Carnival that Silver Remains was like, that was the one that I was serious about.
Yeah.
And that was a side piece. But Electric Carnival wasn't so aggressive musically.
Yeah, I think you were saying that you were actually making more money with Electric Carnival and stuff at the time.
Yeah. Well, I was gigging a lot more regularly because of that.
Yeah.
Because the music wasn't so loud, and it was easy to scale down. It was a more indie rock, indie pop rock type of thing going on.
There's more opportunities to play.
Yes. A lot more people are willing to let you in the door because it's like they're actually willing to listen to it, for one.
That's a really good point.
And it's not like constant distortion and as loud as you can all the time type of thing like you'd find at Hawthorne, or like Analog was another place that did a lot of that.
The Analog.
So we were like, it literally got to the point where I got home one night and they called me and they're like, we have a show tonight. I'm like, oh snap, and grabbed my stuff and just went on down and knocked it out type of thing. And it was like, we were getting that many shows type of thing. And to be honest, that was also, that band was started from a man that came to the school later on, a little younger than I am, Miles Hewitt. He was like born to be a singer-songwriter, I swear.
Yeah.
The dude loved penning out chord sheets and lyric sheets, and he very much was like sought after the Beatles, kind of like he looked up to them, and had a very interesting creative mind. And so he actually started hearing about like me playing and asked me, hey, do you want to jam sometime? Eventually we got more members as we started taking it more seriously, and then that's when all that happened.
Cool, man.
But that was kind of an interesting thing because I didn't head that one as much. I was definitely part of the creative process, but I wasn't like writing the material. Like it was very much a more traditional, like songwriter would come in, we'd jam on it, we'd talk about more specific stuff that we wanted to do back and forth. We did some riffs and whatnot here and there, but it was really it was a very relaxed, very comfortable project, so to speak. Or band.
Yeah, dude. That's what I feel like I might be more comfortable writing music like that sometimes, but at least now with all the shit that I've worked on.
Right. Plus just being able to be flexible with everything, not having to, because, Silver Remains had one volume. It was just all out.
And if you tried to downscale it, you could probably argue that there's an acoustic version of it, but at the same time,
You have to rewrite it.
we'd have to start over. So
Because we did that once. We went to a coffee shop and played, like, I played cajon, acoustic
I think we
guitar,
tried
bass.
it like 1 or 2 times.
Yeah, it's like that one time. What was it? Where was that one at?
It was like in Newburgh. Like we
Yeah.
attempted to put together a tour show, but like nobody
That was the only
would
one that came into.
no one would actually put us on the schedule.
Yeah.
So
Plus, most of the time we call them like, hey, so we want to. Where's the remains? Here's our stuff. Can we play a show at your place? We're putting a tour together, and they're like, we don't do live music anymore. That was like 90%, and the other ones were voicemails, and then the 1%.
let me go find my manager, and then you
never
never
back.
found the manager.
Yeah, which was frustrating.
Yeah.
But I guess that's how it is when you're trying to put together your first tour.
Yeah, man. That's how it goes. If you think about it, like when you're a band, you're a company.
Yep.
And companies have
Cold calls.
hundreds of thousands of people working for them.
Yep.
8 hours a day.
Yeah.
So there's fucking work that has to be done to get, things into the mainstream of what's popular.
Yeah, that was kind of a hard reality that I found.
Yes. That's when we kind of realized we're not making any money, still living at mom's house, and we got to work and put a lot more time into this than we actually are putting into this.
Yeah.
In order to see something going. And
We just weren't ready for that.
no, we weren't ready for that, and I don't think we didn't have a person, or I think Michael was the only person who had kind of this business mindset.
Yeah.
And he was
Austin started pushing that more later on. Yeah.
Yeah, Austin at the end started to develop that,
Yeah, I started to realize how shit moves today. That's through social media.
But we needed more of that, I think, in the beginning.
Yeah.
To try to start pushing in that direction of being, okay, we're all talented. We've got our album recorded and we could play a live show, but now we need to start, doing like the business side, really focusing on that, figuring out what that looks like.
Yeah.
And nobody really knew what to do at that point.
No. Yeah. And Michael told us from the beginning, he was like, I'm just going to do this through high school and college, and then I'm going to get married and start a family.
Yeah. That was always his plan.
Yeah.
It was just, he's going to give himself so much time. And yeah, I think there's a certain point where you do have to kind of set certain limits for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, you could say that like just being like an athlete is also another really good example. And it's a little bit more physically limited because like a professional football player, especially depending on the position you play, like you get, like I'm halfway through someone's career at my age.
Right.
Like you're middle-aged in football
that's
at
true.
26, 27
That's
type
true.
of thing. Like you're a little on the younger side, but you're still like, you're not a rookie anymore in football. You get to 30, man,
You're old.
dude, you're going to struggle getting the paycheck after that. They might, if your contract goes up, you just might not get another offer after that point. And that's all you got.
Yeah.
That is true.
So, I think there's a certain point that it's like you can't just wait forever for a breakout type of thing. Like you gotta give yourself a certain amount of time, give it all you got in that period of time, and either that's what you're there to do, or maybe it's time to think about changing gears.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You can't just. I mean, there are some people. Like, was there anybody who's like didn't get their big break until like 30 or 35? Do you know that you know of?
Not really.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to mind is Russ, the rapper. But he, like, by the time he got his big break, which big break back in the day when we were recording music, probably would have been getting a deal with a record label.
Right.
But he had already put 11 albums out and already generated attention around what he was doing on social media. He was already making tons of money from streams and from YouTube and Instagram and stuff, selling his own merch. And then he signed a deal with a record label, and it was just kind of like this 50-50 partnership was just like, okay, now you guys can help me do this part of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, and at that point, you're already pretty self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Like, you might be able to generate some more income, but
and he already made it by that point, basically.
Yeah,
just
Yeah.
from a technical standpoint, you're already in a career.
Yeah,
at that rate.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
I think, shoot, there's one band that I'm trying to remember which one it is. It was like a big deal type of thing. I think Jimmy Eat World and their song The Middle is kind of the only other example I can think that comes close to this, that they were like that. They wrote that song as kind of their like, okay, this is all we got left type of thing.
Oh,
and it was
really?
like, you know what, things will move on, but maybe it's not meant to be. We're not meant to do this for a living type of thing.
Dang.
And then it blew up. They're still not headlining anything, but they're still going right now.
Yeah.
Because
They're about ready
of
to
that
call
song.
it quits.
Yeah.
Dang.
They were like, just they weren't getting bites on anything.
That's crazy.
That's Jimmy Eats World.
Jimmy Eats World. Yeah. And their song, which was in Rock Band, The Middle.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I remember that one.
you'll recognize it when you hear it.
That. That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
Well, let me play one of my songs here.
Do it.
I can't remember which one I want to do. I think I want to do this one.
Don't tell them it's fine. I'm off to die by this time.
So this is Qori. I've played some of her songs before. This is her newest song.
Check out the show notes.
It's kind of about the coronavirus and how people are saying we should be opening shit back up and stuff. And she's just saying, "Are we ready? Are we sure that's the right thing to do right now?"
Yeah.
Huh. And she said she listens to the podcast
Nice.
all the time. So
Thank you, Qori.
hi, Qori.
You're the best.
And so I figured I'd play that one.
That's great.
On the pod today. One of our other listeners asked us to talk about how we can be encouraging each other during these tough times.
Well, right now, the main thing that I can think of is that everything is so polarized right now. It's either this side or this side. There's no middle ground. It's either you're an angel or you're the Antichrist. Or
you're part of the problem if you're on the fence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you don't have an opinion or you don't want to contribute, you're the issue. So, and it's just something that I would think about. It's just like this idea of like, everybody has their own opinion, and if you view everybody who doesn't share your same opinion as a threat,
Mm-hmm.
then there's absolutely no way that any of us are going to make it through this.
That's true.
So to be encouraging and to be uplifting to other people is acknowledge their views, acknowledge what they see, what they think, right? And then just say what you have to say. And if there's a little discussion, do your best to keep it civilized.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, don't hate each other because they believe something different than you do.
Yeah.
Just view that as a learning opportunity
Yeah.
to learn from somebody else, to be able to see the opposing view and have a, educating conversation between you,
Right.
as opposed to just like trying to shut the other person down, because you're both going to leave feeling terrible and nobody's going to be encouraged.
Yeah. And if you're not willing to listen the same way you want other people to listen to you, I have a feeling you might be going about it a little bit of the wrong way, that you're trying to shove something down someone's throat, but
Right.
you're not willing to take anything back.
That's big.
So
It's really just down to insecurity at that point,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Yeah, man. I think, that kind of speaks to part of the things that have been, to some of the things that have been making this year 2020 so rough for the world. And I think outside of the coronavirus, we have lots of people who are depressed, and And, you know, when stuff like this happens, it can take those feelings that people have, that they go over in their head already and kind of amplify it and go, oh my gosh, like I'm not, like all this stuff in my head that I've been dealing with over these last few months, you know, or whatever years. Now my whole outside world is fucked up too. And now everybody's, you know, falling off. Everybody's, you know, depression's getting worse. The economy's getting worse. People are getting sick and dying. And two of my friends just committed suicide recently. And, or one of my close friends and somebody who I knew when I was younger. And just two people that were just way too young to go. And, you know, there's not a whole lot any one person can do to help with what's going on here. I think everybody should be wearing their mask. I think everybody should be using hand sanitizer, and that's cool. But, you know, with the protests and stuff and racism and some of the other things that have been going on in this country, there's not much any one person can do. But if we all come together and realize that we're all in this together, you know, and use our skills and our strengths to our advantage. Like I know I have a bunch of charities that I want to donate to if I make $1 million off of music, you know, and I want to write music about things that help people who are depressed and help people who are, you know, who want to do something great in life.
Yeah, that's a big function of music nowadays for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think we should all be making more art. I think artists really, you know, have a lot of power to help relate to people and you know, help bring the vibe up a little bit. This one guy I just was working with he's building a whole brand around tacos.
Tacos?
And we're making this theme song for it called Taco Porn.
Okay.
And it's like crunch me, fold me, flip me, hold me, take me in your mouth.
A little Daft Punk-esque type of thing. Yeah.
All right.
But anyways, so I wanted to say rest in peace to my buddy Ethan and my homegirl Josie. I hope y'all are doing well out there. And here's a song that me and Lewis are working on for my buddy Ethan who passed away. It's a hip hop song, so it's a hip hop beat, but we use live instruments to recreate a YouTube beat. Because Lewis kind of had the idea for the song, but he's having to buy a whole bunch of beats for the album he's making now, and he doesn't want to do that anymore. So he was like, you should make something for this.
Getting crafty.
So Lewis is going to rap on that, and we're going to dedicate it to our homie Ethan.
It's good, man.
So that's exciting. And also, Mariah Carey just came out with a song called Save the Day that is about just pushing forward and bringing each other up and you know, fighting against evil. And the lyric, I wanted to read the lyrics on here. It says, you got a right to your own opinion. But when it comes to the world we live in, isn't it time that we start rebuilding? All of the things that make me crumble. We all tend to forget that we all cease to exist if we all live for ourselves. If nobody bothers to find a solution. And the chorus is, if he won't and she won't and they won't, then we won't. We won't ever learn to save the day. If he won't, then she won't. And they won't, then we won't. We won't ever learn to save the day. I think that kind of ties a nice little bow tie on top of everything we just sort of unpacked for the last 15 minutes.
That's about right. Yeah.
So thanks, Mariah Carey. And thank you to Justin for suggesting that topic.
That's great. Yeah.
Well, Eric, I don't fucking blame you for not wanting to get into the music industry and wanting to do mechanics instead, because it's hard out here.
Yeah.
In the music industry, these people are fucking assholes, dude. They are just really, really tough to work with, man.
Yeah, that's one of the not so great things about creative types I've learned is because like I've written stuff and we've had spats back and forth. That's part of the creative process. I know Devin's thrown shit at me before. So, and that was just trying to make sure that we got everything right, but it was tension. Yeah. But no, you can get a little stubborn with your stuff. And then when you bring it to somebody else and they're like, well, what about this and everything? And you're not ready. Yeah. And then you lash, and that's not helpful at all.
Yeah, that's the hardest part about, because when you create something, it's different than just like finding something and saying, hey, I found this article or I found this song. What do you think about it? And if the other person doesn't like it, maybe you feel a little bit, kind of a little ding.
Personally attacked.
But if it's something that you created, came out of your own brain, from your emotions, from your, soul or whatever, and you bear it to somebody, and it's met with criticism. Yeah, that's crushing.
Yeah.
And
it is crushing,
a way different way than like anything.
That's why we talked about the ugly baby, dude.
Yeah.
It's okay to have an ugly baby.
It's okay to have an ugly baby.
Your song sucks.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you suck.
Your song sucks. Now let's refine it into something better.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I know some of the artists watching, or some of the artists that listen are probably like, who's he talking about?
Is it me? Is it me? Am I the problem?
But no, I mean, I wouldn't say any. I haven't had too many problems with people at Bent Beat. Honestly, I'm more referring to some of the people in the past that have screwed me over when I talk about that. But, you never know. You never know who you're going to get in the studio. It might be a guy who wants to make a funny song about tacos and have a good time. And it might be, some fucking asshole who,
really thinks they got some good stuff.
Yeah, and it's just, it's all out of whack.
It's going to make me famous.
You got to know what is important in music. And like, nobody is going to listen to your song and see it from the same perspective that you did when you wrote it. Because they weren't there in that moment when that inspiration hit you, or like whatever story you're telling in that song. Like that's what's special about it. And if somebody else doesn't like it, like, that's a whole nother part of music. I make music. I have to remind myself constantly, because I guess I'm not 100% this way. I have to kind of convince myself that I am. But like, it doesn't matter what other people think about my music. My music is therapeutic, and I write music for me because to help me through my own shit, to write it down and make it in a song and hear it played back to me and feel all the emotion that I put into it. And it feels like it's coming from another person, so it's easier to look at it from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. You put it down on something that it plays back to you, and now it's not coming from you necessarily.
Yeah.
Right.
That's kind of why I'm happy to be in the position that I am at Bent Beat, because like I really want to work on some more of my own music, but at least my living doesn't depend on my own music right now. It's other people's music.
There you go. It's on other people.
Well, it's more of a diversification if you look at it from a stocks point of view, but
sure, yeah.
It's a not putting all your eggs in one basket, but still being all in on the music industry.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's a good way to do it.
I've been investing in stocks lately too.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk about that.
I need to get back into that.
Yeah, you did a few of those.
I did a few of those. But,
which stocks did you invest in?
I was going between. I went after Nintendo, if I remember correctly.
Is that an expensive one?
I don't think they're too bad.
Oh.
I remember I did it into the corporation that we get our trucks from at work too, because at the time I knew, hey, the field that these trucks work in is burgeoning right now. 811 and all that. Everyone's getting all crazy about pipelines. Neighborhoods are going in everywhere, so they have to dig all that stuff all the time. So we're selling trucks like crazy, and I'm like, this is on the up.
Explain what you do.
Oh yeah.
Currently. Yeah. So I still wrench, as he mentioned, being a mechanic, but I don't work on cars anymore. I work on street sweepers and, well, we'll say hydro excavators and combo trucks. If you know what those are, sweet. If not,
there's Google.
Yeah, there's Google. Hydro excavators, basically giant vacuum machines, and they have like a really high end pressure washer on them, and you essentially just pressure wash the dirt till it comes apart, then you suck it up. So as a result, you can dig, really precise holes without like blowing open electrical lines and pipelines and stuff like that. So instead of taking a bucket and like literally blowing up a neighborhood, you can actually see where those are at by using a hydro excavator. So with new construction, those things are going all over the place. Contractors can't get enough of them. Cities can't get enough of them.
It's the way of the future.
That's why I invested in Federal Signal.
Cool.
And they like doubled.
Well, you could say the same thing about cars, right?
To a certain extent, but you have to go cars. You have to go like company by company by company. So you actually have to look at like, what is Ford doing? What is General Motors doing? What is Nissan doing? I don't know. I think Nissan and Subaru, they are traded in the stock market. But you have to pay attention to what they're doing individually. It's not necessarily like the entirety of the cars, of the automotive market is like doing really well. Some of them don't make the best choices and kind of fall behind. Tesla is a really good example of one that's kind of exploded a little bit, and then they go like crazy. Like as soon as Elon Musk touches a joint, a bunch of people get all like, what's going on? And then like you lose a third of that gigantic stock price for some reason, and it builds back up and probably gets back there. But
that's what I think one of my buddies who got really into stocks for a little bit and made a pretty good amount of money in a short amount of time. He invested in Tesla, and that's probably why he did it. Was when it dropped.
Right there.
So it dropped when he smoked the joint? I would think it would go up.
It dropped. I think because enough of the people that trade that are like literally like live in Wall Street. Probably are still old fashioned and see that as like, devil's lettuce. It really.
Well, nobody driving a Tesla.
Yeah.
Is probably going to be smoking weed.
No, but most of the investors may not be, we just lost video.
Lost the video.
Why?
Because when we plugged it in, it was.
Did somebody unplug the charger?
So it was charging off the computer, I think.
It was.
We'll figure it out.
It's not charging anymore. Anyways.
Damn, we were so close.
Yeah.
So dang close.
Should we just keep the audio going?
Just
put the logo up?
Going.
Yeah. Do that.
Eric, thanks for joining us this episode. Everybody give it up for Eric.
Yeah.
And one more round of applause for Mariah Carey.
There we go.
You want me to hit him with the outro? Or you want to
show us what's up, bro.
Dude, I'm going to try, man. It's hard.
It is difficult.
I'm not much better at it than you are, bro.
Well, I've only done it once.
All right, guys. So here's what you got to do. Camera's not working. Go find us on our social media and give us a follow.
That's right.
I already fucked it up.
It's all good. Where can they find us, Austin?
Go find us on social media.
Yeah.
And give us a follow. Send us your questions. You can find us at Podheaven Austin Devin on Instagram or Facebook. You can also tweet us at PodheavenAD. If you watch us on YouTube, drop a like and subscribe for more. Thanks for listening to our podcast.
You guys are the best.
We sure love you guys.
See you next week.
Anyone who's listening, we love you. Any last words, Eric?
Last words.
Where can they find you on social media?
Nowhere. I'm out there. I'm not a content creator though.
Guys, let us know if you want to see Eric on more episodes.
Show him the love.
Tell him
I
how
do
great
mix
his beard
drinks.
is.
He does.
I do mix drinks.
Yes, we are gonna do that video. We gotta do that video.
Yeah.
Make that happen.
Where are we at with that? Is it up to me now? Is it my court? Because I don't even.
I can't even remember what happened to that. Why it's not out yet.
We're gonna have more cool shit coming out later. Stay tuned. Peace.